I thought we were going to start with that. I liked that.
Oh, you want me to do a little spring theme?
Yeah. I mean, we just had the equinox.
Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doom, boo-doo-doo-doom, boo-doom, boo-doom, boo-doo-doo-doom, boo-doom, boo-doo-doo-doom, boo-doo-doo-doom, boo-doom, boo-doom. Good morning, my love. The skies are looking bright today. Can I kiss you on the boob like I did yesterday? Oh, boom, 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 boom. You let me in. Boom, doom, 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 doom. You let me sin. Boom, 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 boom. You made me cry. Boom, 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 boom. You got me high. You didn't want to help at all? You just let me fucking do that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Welcome to spring.
Welcome to Spring. That was Spring Theme by Ween as performed by Shungo. Because we can't use the real song without getting copyright infringements and getting ourselves demonetized.
That was really close. They might still.
Yeah, it was
Really close.
It was eerily close to the original. That's off the album Pure Guava.
I think that's my favorite album.
Yeah. In general.
Oh yeah, sure.
In general. Yeah. It's pretty perfect. And it was a major label debut. Listen to Pure Guava by Ween and then tell me what the fuck whoever was that signed them was thinking and what they were thinking when they delivered that. And then they had a hit off of it, Push the Little Daisies.
They're true fuckers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
So what happened with Push the Little Daisies? That was like a big hit in Australia particularly?
Yeah. The Australians loved it and then Beavis and Butthead loved it.
I'll be honest, it's like one of my least favorite Ween songs.
It's
not least favorite, but I'm like, if I were to like order my Ween favorite songs, like it wouldn't be high.
It's not high on the list. They're all my favorite when I'm listening to them.
I guess I could like yeah.
When that song clicks on, I'm like, damn, this is such a fucking hit.
I think when I heard it, I was just like, this is the one that's the most popular? Like, there's so many better songs.
We're digging into one of Ween's biggest inspirations, the Butthole Surfers.
Going deep
On those Butthole Surfers.
Or they're taking us far out. I'm not sure what to say about it.
Yeah, yeah. Either you're really good at faking it or you actually like them.
Oh, no, I actually like them.
Yeah, I don't think you would fake liking a band for me.
I don't think if I did, I think you'd be able to tell if I was faking liking something.
Yeah, you would just leave.
I don't know, because I get like itchy or edgy when something's not in resonance, you know?
Yeah.
But we watched that documentary.
Yeah.
That was like it was like interviews with them and footage of them performing. And
yeah. It's called A Blind Eye Sees All.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Show that to your partner and see if you guys can fucking vibe.
No, it's one of those things where I clicked on it and I was like, this is going to be too much. It's going to overpopulate my senses, like, let alone Cass. I doubt we'll watch this together, but like, God, I fucking love this band. And like, here's a show of theirs from 1985. Like, let's peep it.
It was so good.
And we were addicted.
Yeah. And I mean, the lead singer is like a fucking whack job and they're all on acid and talking nonsense. Like their music is like truly living who they are.
Yeah.
And it's just a trip and you kind of got to go along for the ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know when I realized that I like my senses being overpopulated, like consensually.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if sometimes you go to a bar and you're like, whoa, this is overpopulating my senses. And like, I did not want to hear Barbie Girl from Aqua. Like,
yeah.
Like we went to a bar the other night and it was just.
Oh my God, they were skipping good songs.
They were skipping like
Barbie Girl.
Weezer to get to Aqua. And I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I think the bartenders were on coke.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I could see what was going on. You know?
And they were my age, which was kind of perfect, I think, because I was like, okay, there was like a little trip down memory lane, but it's like the dark side.
The trip down memory lane was like, it wore off pretty quick. I was like, all right, come on, let's switch this up. And I tried to hijack the jukebox because I know some moves, you know.
What are the moves?
Well, the moves are if they have one of those touch tune things, you have to go to the Grateful Dead album Without a Net, and they play Help on the Way, Slipknot, Franklin's as one track. Yeah. So it's like a 25-minute track. I know a bunch of tracks like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we did it at the bowling alley the other day. We went bowling, and I just took over the music for the whole bowling alley.
That made it really pleasurable.
Right? It was fun.
So what is that about, like, liking your senses overpopulated, but, like, I guess just in a good way?
It's like hypnosis. You have to trust the people that are going to do it.
Right.
You know, like, I think some people would go see, like like Jeff the Brotherhood. We were just talking about. We saw them live. One of our favorite bands. It's two brothers, and they came. One of the times we saw them, they came out and like literally just played the same like hypnotic riff for 20 minutes.
It was like a boom boom drum beat with like a guitar like.
Very simple, just like very simple, stripped down. And, you know, they came out, they didn't say anything to the crowd, and they just played the same riff for 20 minutes.
It was really tight in there, and it cleared out like half the people.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
thank God.
Yeah, the real ones hung out for that one. The ones that fell under the spell.
Yeah, but then you were really under it.
Yeah, you're hooked for life.
Yeah, there is this space you can get to where your senses are overpopulated, where you, like a lot of times when seeing live music, like you can kind of go on a journey, and it's almost like therapy, think about a lot of things, but then sometimes it's like just completely strips you of any thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're going for.
I mean, the vast majority of the shows I've been to have been that. They're like very loud, oversold, chaotic, and like punk or hardcore music. So where people are fucking, like you literally have to protect yourself. So, you know, not only are your senses overpopulated by what's coming on stage and the music being way too loud and the mix being fucked up and everything, but people are being, like, violent. And you just have to, like, let go and let God and just do your thing.
Yeah, it used to be cute getting in there when I was younger, but I'm, like, not about it anymore.
Yeah.
Try to stand behind some bodyguard or whatever, some security guard.
The first time that you ever really got in the pit was at a Choking Victims show.
Yeah, your cousin Jesse put me up, and I body surfed or whatever you call it, crowd surf.
You didn't even ask to. He just got up behind you and just threw you off.
It was an initiation. It was fun.
Yeah, you were totally down. It's weird because I wouldn't have taken you as a punker or somebody that would be into loud, aggressive music, you know, because you look like a sweet little bunny to me.
That's what I needed, though. Talk about needing balance in your life, you know?
Yeah.
That's you probably, if you're like, look a little bright, you need like dark music or vice versa. Some people are just like look dark and like dark music, or look bright and like bright music, but
yeah. I asked that to Mare once when we first met her.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, can I get as objective an opinion as you could get? Like, if you saw me, what kind of music would you think I'm into?" She said, I would think you're a deadhead. And I was like, "What the fuck am I doing wrong? What do you mean?" Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought you would have liked real estate.
No,
I'm
God
just kidding.
damn.
I'm just kidding.
See, that's one of those bands like I didn't even have an opinion about until you did. And then you were like, this is the fucking lamest shit on earth.
It just doesn't resonate with me for whatever reason.
And I was like, yeah. They're kind of like that band Vampire Weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like...
Can't do it.
Just vomit-inducing. Just like twee, like...
Yeah, there's like a tone of voice or something.
Yeah.
Like there's a put on like that. It kind of got old in the 90s, you know, though. Like I get... But now like it's been like far enough that it's like kind of charming.
Yeah.
But there was a while where I was like, I'm kind of over this sound.
Yeah.
It dates things really in particular into time and place.
Well, you know what song from 1990 I have stuck in my head?
No.
God is watching us from a distance.
You keep singing this one and I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't listen to Bette Midler's album from 1990?
No.
With that hit song?
Mm-mm.
It's called From a Distance.
So who does this one? What if God was one of us?
Joan Osborne. You kidding me?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's Joan Osborne?
I don't know. Some singer like that, I'm sure, because of when that song came out, that you know, paid for her life. Probably still does.
A one-hit wonder?
Yeah. Nothing to be ashamed about.
That's a good one.
It's better to have one hit than none.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is it? That's actually a good question. Is it better to have one hit than none? Because one hit will change your life, but everyone will be like wanting you to sing that one hit for the rest of your life. And then you get in a predicament like Smash Mouth, where he's going around having to sing All-Star at like county fairs.
People are throwing bread at him and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or like Radiohead, like being so self-serious and like pissed off about people wanting to play Creep. It's like, dude, like, people aren't as fucking artsy as you or whatever. They know that was their introduction to your band. Like, play the fucking song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, I wonder. I think if you fancy yourself like a professional musician and, really making a go at this, I could see how it could be a torturous thing.
Yeah, you can't get out under from under the shadow.
Yeah.
And like every song you probably do like doesn't live up, or everyone's like, "Oh, well, it's kind I wish it was like this." And then if you make it too much like it seems like you're copying yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure too. Like the band Thin Lizzy, their first hit was it was a cover called Whiskey in the Jar. That's an old Irish folk song. And they just made a rock and roll version of it, and it became their like go-to song. And I think because the lead singer Phil Lynott, because he was like writing a bunch of other songs and having so many originals, he was kind of like a little bitter that like the one that broke through was like a cover of a traditional Irish folk song. But then he got the boys is back in town, baby.
They have so many good
Well, the
songs.
hits started flowing after that, probably partly because this motherfucker was like, no, fuck this. I'm not becoming known for this one song. I'm not going to be singing this one
You
song the
know what
rest of
I
my
think
life.
of? And I'm sorry, like I just gonna be a shit talker. Who cares?
Yeah, whatever.
I don't think people are gonna get that offended about me not liking this band. But like Old Crow Medicine Show, which we like to call Old Crow Medicine Bro,
Old bro medicine, bro.
Old Bro Medicine Bro. They have that one song that's like a hit, the Wagon Wheel song.
Bob Dylan wrote that.
And then Bob Dylan wrote it. So
Bob
and then
Dylan.
you go to their show and you're like, wow, that song's a hit, and they have to play it like twice because all their other songs are like
Oh, I mean, that's what Seal
lame.
does with Kiss from a Rose. You go to a Seal show, and he starts with it right in the middle, and then a nice encore of Kiss from the Rose. This is smart.
It is smart.
Yeah.
Give the people what they want.
If you give the people what they want, they're going to come back for more. So you might as well give them what they want. But that's the tough thing as an artist. Like we were up at Noah's the other day, and his dad was like, he knows our films and stuff. It's cool. We were chilling with Noah's dad. Really
I
cool dude.
love Noah's
We
dad.
love this guy.
He's gonna be on the podcast.
Yeah, he'll be on the podcast.
He's definitely out
We
there
have a
in
lot
fun
more in
way.
common with him than Noah.
Yeah,
That's what it really comes down
it comes
to.
down to that. I was
Yeah.
like, damn, Noah, you've been hiding your dad all this time.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go hang out at Noah's without his dad being there. I'd be like, where's your dad, Noah?
We were talking Zappa, the Stones, fucking crazy, directors that I thought no one else even knew about. And he was just asking us about our journey and whatever. And I was telling him about this new project that we're about to have for sale out on the market, Family Trip. And, I was like thinking about it. I was just like, I don't usually think of stuff that my ideas for our movies and our life and stuff aren't usually like the one hit wonders. Like they're not gonna be. They're for us. Like nobody would want to buy this. Nobody would want to have anything to do with this. This couldn't be construed as a project if you tried. A product. But Family Trip like feels to me kind of probably how it feels when like Radiohead has Creep in their back pocket.
I
Like
don't know. I
like
feel like you've had like 7 one-hit wonders, but then they're not
no,
one-hit
no, no,
wonders.
no, no, no. Those are on the internet. I'm talking about like getting something on a platform or TV, or like someone is hiring us. Someone's paying a lot of money for this. Like I think all of our movies are hits. Like I think of them all as like my favorite thing I've ever made. Like if I think about any one of them, I think about, oh man, that's my favorite. I had such a good time, and it brings back all these memories and everything. But none of them, maybe with the exception of Oxiana, really felt like we were making something for someone besides us, besides like me, you, our editor, Kathy.
Oh no, with Family Trip, I want to send it to everyone. I'm like, all right, when
Yeah.
can I send this to everyone?
And what I feel like as artist, I sacrificed a little bit to make it a little bit more palatable for not, I wouldn't say the lowest common denominator, just the most amount of people. We made some choices and did some things that like are a little different than what I would do in our films. And that's probably a really interesting line to toe as a musician.
Making your music accessible
Yeah.
and like knowing kind of the formula of like, okay, right now people are liking this kind of vibe, or just even like love songs, people relate so deeply to a love song or a breakup song that you're kind of, if you
Yeah.
can hit someone on that emotional plane and they resonate and relate to it, it's like your music's such medicine. And that's, I
Mhm.
kind of just had this wave of love come over me for, I was specifically thinking about Taylor Swift for some reason because I think
Your
we
sister.
no. We were talking about her with Mare or something. I don't even listen to her really, but she gets a lot of flack, right?
She gets flackers.
A lot of flackers or whatever. But I was thinking about just like imagine the karmic weight of being like millions and millions of teenage girls' therapist.
Uh,
But in a way, it's like a one-sided conversation.
yeah,
But think about how healing or just moving in and through emotions music can be for that. And
yeah.
then imagine being the artist who like helps people like in that journey. You must feel it in some way. Or you must get some like I
You
don't
must
know.
feel constricted by it. Like, because it's like she's got to uphold this image of, like, whatever. I don't even know what her image is, but she's got to uphold it. Like, I know that she couldn't put out a song called Wet Ass Pussy. And if she did,
She should.
she would change the fabric of the nation. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, like, Kurt Cobain hated Nevermind, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he hated the songs. I just think he hated the way it was produced and the sound of it. And I think it
That's
sounded
got to be
really
so
polished.
brutal.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it took off. It did change the fabric of the whole world, And he wasn't so psyched about it. The production, he just felt it was a little too squeaky clean, a little too radio ready. It wasn't challenging people's ears enough, I think. And then so what he did for the next album, In Utero, was get Steve Albini, who does not fuck around. He,
he
he's
likes it raw.
he likes it raw. He doesn't do overdubs. He doesn't, and yes, Steve Albini made this their rawest record, their best record, and the singles that they wanted to make into hits, they had someone else mix them to make them more radio
Oh yeah,
ready.
you mentioned that to me the
And
other day.
on the expanded editions, you can hear Steve Albini's mixes of like Heart Shaped Box and Rape Me, but they had a different producer
I was
come
trying
in.
to get you to play those back to back for me so we could tell the difference. I don't think we ever did that.
Well, I played the Albini one, and I'm like, I'm not listening to this song again with the shittier mix. Like just to prove something. We're inevitably knowing you after we listen to it the second time, you'd be like, I couldn't tell the difference.
uh, thank God for music, though. Honestly,
Yeah, it's the best drug, and you can't overdose on it. And no one can slip fentanyl in there. It's just it's for you, and it's there when you want it, and it's more available than ever before. And the lengths I used to have to go through to track down albums I've never heard before and spend my only money to get an album that hopefully will be good. I'll find out when I get home. Yeah, now it's just like it's insane. I think, you know, uh, the people we are now, we would seem like AIs to ourselves like just a few decades ago. With the amount of knowledge we carry around with us and the amount of connections we've been able to make and the amount of access and resources and just connection, we would come off the way AI is coming off to us now. We would seem like that to like our ancient ancestors or our not too distant ancestors. My grandfather my dad looks at us like we're aliens. He's like, "Wow, you know how to use the computer?" I'm like, "No, it's just my phone. I don't really even know how to use it either." But like, just think about the fucking power. We're gods right now.
well, bring Chat GPT to the mix, and we pretty much are.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, life is gonna change so drastically, like in weeks right now.
Yeah.
I mean, talking to a friend last night or yesterday, and she was like, "Yeah, I mean, like all my coworkers are using ChatGPT to write their emails.
Yeah. No
Like,
brainer.
no
They'd be
brainer.
dumb not to.
Yeah, it takes time to like formulate stuff in a proper way.
Yeah.
I mean, we South Park has been killing it this season,
Oh yeah.
and they did an episode where, um, I guess Stan uses ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, to be better at texting his girlfriend.
Oh my
And all the
God.
girls are just so in love.
They're so in love, and they're just like with all their boyfriends who are texting them, just like copying and pasting their response and saying, "Do the text reply to this," and then
Yeah.
copying and pasting it and sending it back. And it really is funny,
Mm.
where we're headed. Like if you said to me the other day, you were like, the best thing we could do probably is invest in ChatGPT, because if we don't,
GPT Plus, like, we'll repay the $20 a month and just learn how to use this fucking thing.
you could really get left behind very quickly.
That's kind of what I'm predicting. I'm predicting, like, imagine just getting a cell phone for the first time in your life now, and you've never used one. Like, you would be really behind the eight ball in life in a lot of ways. You know.
I mean, I think it's pretty user friendly, and I think that's kind of the idea. But to know that, like, oh, I could design a website now with.
Just to figure out, what can this do for me? How can I work with this? How can this improve my life? How can this give me more free time? I think that's the way we
It's
got
like
to be
having a
thinking.
car.
Yeah.
It's like you can get point A from point A to point B, you know, in an hour or 3 days.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
the invention of the car changed the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, little things like that. You never know when the next thing that's going to change the world is going to come out. Like a small thing that I thought about the other day that changed the world that happened in my lifetime? Caller ID. You used to not know who the fuck was calling you. The phone in the house would ring and somebody would pick it up. And if it was the person you wanted to talk to least in the world, that's that. You have to talk to them. Like, when caller ID comes, it starts to make us practice a little bit more discernment about things. And then there's judgment, and then there's people we won't talk to entirely. And then now it's evolved to the place where it's fucking completely rude to call somebody.
I know. I feel bad about it.
You know?
I call someone and then they don't answer, and I'm like, that was really rude of me to call them.
Yeah, you're like, is there any way I can delete the missed call from their phone?
And then I have to send them a text like, hey, sorry, I was just calling you just in the off chance that you were free to talk about this thing, but we can totally email about it. You don't have to respond anytime soon. Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the coming AI revolution, which is very interesting, and we'll have to talk to Mare about this, but I think we're in an astrological alignment. That's the last time it happened was the American Revolution. And,
Well, Pluto, our
yeah,
Pluto return.
yeah. I think AI is the thing. It's the new revolution. It's the thing that's gonna kind of render a lot of things and people and jobs, not people, but jobs obsolete.
Well,
You know.
you were making me lose my mind thinking about how you're like, oh, well, there's like AI OnlyFans now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course there is. There's going to be AI music and there's going to be AI art, but there's going to be someone kind of needing to man that, saying, make it like this, you know?
Of course. Well, this is what I'm saying. As artists, let's figure out how to use this new paintbrush that got invented.
ChatGPT documentaries of fake people.
Oh, I've already thought of ways that we could incorporate this into our filmmaking life. I'm not ready to speak about them yet. I gotta.
I know, when
these
you were
things out
talking
a bit.
about having a name for a movie come first, I'm like on the edge of my seat wanting to say the movie we've been
Oh, do you want to talk about this?
Well,
The mayor came up with it. Really? I mean,
yeah.
she's the one that spoke it into existence, but we were just walking around the LES the other night.
Don't steal our idea.
Yeah, don't steal this idea. But we were just walking around the Lower East Side the other night with Mowgli, just chilling. And we popped in the bodega to get our classic cookies. And Mayor goes, Bodega Nights. And I'm like, that's a movie. That's our next movie. We'll just
God.
hang around the bodegas of like of Bushwick and Williamsburg, and we'll just go around Brooklyn
Anywhere.
and Queens.
Yeah, Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah.
And the Bronx. We could really just make the rounds.
Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Staten, from the Battery to the top of Manhattan. But like, imagine like a Florida Man-esque approach to just being in bodegas and
Just
like
watching people come in and out like all
Yeah.
whatever, just in the middle of the night, early in the morning.
Talking to people about what they're doing, what they're getting, why they're there. The cashiers, the people making sandwiches, that kind of stuff. Like it could capture so many vibes.
And honestly, it's kind of a miracle that bodegas still exist.
They won't for long.
Yeah, like you already see, there's none in Williamsburg. There's pretty much none in Greenpoint anymore. So it's like
Yeah.
they are
when
not
when
gonna
like
exist
the
for much longer.
falafel shop, the tiny ass falafel shop, when you get off the L stop in Brooklyn, right outside the train closes, it's bad news for all the bodegas and all those types of like, people with like a little taco shop or whatever. Like all that stuff is just becoming corporatized. It's
Well,
sad.
I'm surprised, honestly, 7-Eleven hasn't taken over more. But that's also the direction we're going, where it's like, oh, it's every bodega is a 7-Eleven bodega, which isn't even a bodega, whatever.
That's what. Yeah, it's going to be like it'll be like that. 7-Eleven presents Bodega. I don't even know what that word is, and I don't think anyone calls it that outside of New York City.
Really?
I don't think so. I have no idea what that word is, but I love it.
It's a good one.
It's kind of like Talladega Nights meets Boogie Nights, but as a documentary about, the creatures that creep.
Oh man, we'll have to follow some people home maybe. Some,
That is interesting.
people just creeping out after a sex party and
Oh man. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an easy one to make too. It's like, let's just live down in the city for a month or two and just skew our schedules, just completely flip our schedules.
yeah, we'll night shift it.
Yeah. Joey can go do his comedy. He can do the open mics. When he's done with the open mics, it's like, now's our time to shoot. We're going to shoot from midnight till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is how, actually a little bit of like, this is our process.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. It seems like I used to be a little bit more like superstitious about it. I hear because I listen to a lot of comedians' podcasts and I hear them be like that. Like people are like, how do you write jokes? And like, oh, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I'm inspired. I don't know. I don't know how it happens. But yeah, this is usually how it happens. You think of a title and you're like, what would the vibe? What is that title like? What does that vibrate? And then you kind of pick up on that frequency.
I mean, to do a movie that's just all shot at night too.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Have we done that?
No, Florida Man and Black Bike Week, we had like night shots and stuff, but it wasn't all at night.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love it. Bodega Nights, that feels like a summer movie.
But also, it really helps us do wild magic. Like I feel like we always
that's another part of our process.
We always need to know what the next one is, and kind of be like creatively seduce. Like we're seducing ourselves with the future.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got to like see it through.
That's a great way of putting it. It's self-seduction.
Yeah.
It's, because when I don't have the self-seduction mechanism and my future's like a little bit blank, like I just got to finish this thing and then we have nothing to do.
You want to drag it out.
I get depressed.
But you also are like, oh, I can't, because if you can't see the future,
you get a little attached.
Then you're like, or kind of cling to what you're doing because you don't know who you will be on the other side of doing this thing. So there's like a death that could happen if you don't look one step ahead. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you might self-sabotage to stay in the process of that one project because when you finish that project, there's a death that happens of who am I? Oh, I thought I was a filmmaker, but I'm not making films after this, so I have to just keep being in this process of making this film.
Yeah. Thank God that, like, I think both of us decided that we were going to be filmmakers before the iPhone existed.
Why do you say thank God?
I think kind of like what I was saying about the car or caller ID, like these things like kind of shift who we are as people and our thinking and stuff. And I think that there was just a level of boredom, I guess, in my life. Like boredom it can be a really positive thing. We can immediately crush those feelings now when they come up. I think we associate it with something negative or emptiness or whatever. But I needed to have like boredom and emptiness and quiet and like nothing to immediately be able to turn my attention to. And it allowed me to be a person with like a more active imagination about like what I wanted to see on screen. And I think had I come up now with the utter amount of distractions, I'd think I would just diagnose myself with ADD and just be like, yeah, no, I have a problem. I don't, and I think I wouldn't have ever gotten to the place of just like tasting the ultimate antidote for boredom, which is like having visions of future projects swirling around.
Well, also being comfortable in the boredom. Like I've been so bad at this lately, but like sitting in the stillness of like, okay, yeah, I want to look at my phone and see what could make me laugh on TikTok or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good reminder that I need to remind myself of is like, yeah, the boredom might be uncomfortable, but following the discomfort is like, that's where you can kind of have a little clarity of like, all right, yeah, I don't know immediately because I've just been in a consumption loop and scroll hole. Like, I don't know exactly what book I want to read or what I want to draw, but give me some spaciousness and something will fill that gap.
Yeah. It's kind of like it, but it's not meditation because meditation is almost a separate thing. That's just like that's a digestive process for
Right.
me. Like it's like, oh, I have to meditate twice a day, like first thing in the morning to digest whatever the hell went on last night in my sleep, and then about 8 hours later to reset and digest what I've already had. But the boredom is a different. It's like a different vibe. You know, I sometimes get embarrassed. Like you'll come out there, like because you have your own little room now, and we.
Welcome to my little room.
Yeah, but you'll come out there, and I'm like not doing anything. I'm like, oh, it probably just seems like I was just sitting here. I was just sitting here. I don't even know what I was thinking about or doing, but I think it's valuable. I
Oh
think it's
well,
valuable. Not a lot of people afford themselves that.
I'm never judging you. I hope you
No,
know that.
I know. You're so good to me.
I think we've been together long enough too that like even if I do notice you looking at your phone or Twitter a lot, like I used to be like wanting to give you a hard time, as I'm sure you've wanted to give me a hard time about it, but also kind of just like Sean's medicating in some way.
Yeah.
You know, he's going in and through something, but also who am I to judge? He might be getting something out of that experience. And like, I have to police myself. The last thing I want to do is police you.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's partly like I feel like it's partly like I think every person needs built-in time to not be a person, you know? And we're around each other so much. I remember the first like few months, maybe a year of us living together, I would really struggle with like, oh, I don't have something lined up for, to keep us entertained or keep,
You still kind of freak out
I do.
sometimes.
Because I want there to be a vibe. I don't want it to just be like, whatever, because like I'm saying, I don't know. I don't know if other people can relate with that, but like I need time in my life to just like not be a person. Like no one needs anything from me, but like beyond that, like no one's even looking at me. No one's acknowledging me. Like I just need that.
Yeah, no one's asking you what are we gonna watch tonight, or like because that's what I've said to you sometimes. I'm like, when I don't have a clue, I'm like, what do you think we're gonna watch tonight? But you take it as like pressure, and you're like, I
Well,
don't fucking know.
that's now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna channel my creativity into that. Like I'm going off the path of like who knows into like, oh, we need to watch something. So let me think about what that should be and what the vibe should feel like when we're watching it and base whatever we picked up off that.
I think it's really important to like what I've really come to value is like the diversity. Like, okay, one night we watch something, one night we listen to music,
Yeah.
one night we
Make
draw,
music.
one night we just fucking do our own thing, and I listen to YouTube tarot pulls, and you do
Is that
what.
what you're doing?
Sometimes I don't know. Like I'm just thinking of the most mindless thing I do, which is like listen to someone talk about my next month future, and
Mm.
then we try to reflect on like, Yeah, but I think with that, I think when we're like, hey, let's not just, because when you get into a loop of like every night watching TV
Oh yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
doing the same thing every night.
But you're the one that tipped me off to like not turning on the TV to start the day.
Well, yeah, I
Because
mean,
you're like
that's,
that just sets you in a direction, and I'm like, wow, I never really thought about that. It's just like because of how I grew up, it's just like the habit. Like you wake up, make breakfast and turn on the TV, see what's going on.
I think I'm such an addict or
Yeah.
to like I have an addiction problem that like if I get in a consumption loop with television, like where I'm just like watching something, I can't have a thought. I'm consuming, not creating.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is when you have to remember the Bette Midler song. God is watching us from a distance, but God is watching us. So you keep that in mind, and you're like, let me put on a little show here. Let me add some razzle dazzle to my life. I guess I'll make films. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to give God a little razzle dazzle.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, God gave us some razzle dazzle yesterday. This is I don't know. Maybe we'll tell this story and it doesn't blow anyone's mind, but for me, it was like a jaw dropping moment. So I think we talked about it on the podcast a few months ago. We went hiking and it was just me and you, and we were going for like a speed run. We were like, let's see how fast we could do this 3 hour hike. Like maybe we could do it in 2 hours. So we're like, boom, 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 boom. We get to the top of this tough ass fucking hike, and there's two sisters up there, and one of them has a broken ankle. And she like, I broke my ankle. And like people are just going past these people who are like suffering. And so we were going to be one of those people, and we got a little past them, and we're like, God, we can't do it. We got to help them. So we go back and we figured out like, okay, we'll stabilize your ankle, and then we carried the girl to a better place, like less rocks or whatever. and we just couldn't figure out what to do. So you and I ran to the bottom of the mountain and called for help, and we were in touch with them the whole time, and they ended up like getting saved, and it was awesome. And they texted like, "Thank you guys so much. It helped. Whatever." Yesterday, so that was months ago, on a hike called Bull Hill. Yesterday we were on a totally different hike, totally different mountain called Anthony's Nose, and we're about to get to the top, and we're just boogieing, and I see a girl like walking towards us. I'm like, she looks familiar, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm on acid too. Everyone seems familiar because I was on acid yesterday when we were hiking. Everybody seems familiar when I'm on acid. So I'm like, "Oh, she looks familiar," and I don't pay attention. And then I'm listening to what she's saying. She's telling the story. It's the girl that we saved. She's telling the story of us saving her as we're walking past
She's
her.
like, I was gonna maybe have to get like
A helicopter, but there's no helicopter. There's no way
or
for
it's so expensive.
Yeah, and like she's saying this, and like I don't even say anything. I just turn around, and you heard the same thing, and we were both like, oh, and she just like went into the distance, and I was like, whoa, that was a wild synchronicity. Like, what are the fucking odds?
Well, and I'm certain that I was the one who was like, you should go on Anthony's Nose.
Yeah, that when we were saving them, we're like, hey, if you ever do want to hike again, there's some other ones around here, a little easier or whatever. But what are the odds that we would ever see that girl again? Let alone, I wouldn't have known it was her unless she was telling that story. She's on this long ass hike with her friend, and that's the moment she was telling the story when we were walking past her. It was insane. That, like, to me, I was just like, I don't know how I don't know how to process this. Like, your average little synchronicities. I'm like, oh, cool little angel wink, this and that. That one is like, are we inextricably linked to this girl and her family? Like,
Yeah, I can't wait to see her next time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just always have my eye out for her.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's just a reminder to help people. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely always want to help when you can.
Yeah. That was I don't know if that affected you, but
Yeah, it's one of those exactly like you're saying. Like sometimes things are just so weird that you can't really process them. So like when I think about it, I'm like, whoa, that was crazy, but I can't integrate it into like
yeah,
reality
yeah,
because there's like it feels like so unexplainable or so crazy or so random or so synchronistic that I'm like, okay, life is magic. Just that's a cosmic wink of a reminder that life's a magic.
yeah.
But integrating it past that into like what is the deeper meaning? I'm like my circuits overload or something.
Yeah, yeah. You know what like the only way I can interpret it is, I had a rough week, like mental health wise. I was just like, that's why we didn't do a podcast last week. I was just like all over the place and just not feeling like I had anything to offer. And like the second that I made a conscious effort, like, dude, you gotta pull yourself out of this. Like, just stop. I started getting hit with them, and that was the biggest one. But the second, like, I pulled myself out of it, you went off to have a girls' night, and my homegirl Julie hit me up. Like, she didn't even know I was having a hard time. She was just like, "Come on, let's go hang out. You're taking me on a date." I was like, "All right, we'll go out." And the second we got together, she's saying stuff that I was saying that day, and like just little things. It was freaking me out. Songs were coming on. Like we get to the bar, and like I was listening to Smashing Pumpkins' "Siamese Dream" on the way over to the bar, and went into the bar, and Siamese Dream was playing by Smashing
You didn't even
Pumpkins.
tell me that.
It was just like little stuff. I was like, oh, cool. Because like, going around talking about every little synchronicity you have is like going around like telling your
Your
dreams.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's very
Well,
personal.
then here we are. Hi, thanks for listening to our
Yeah, but
synchronicities.
but at the same time, I do find it to be interesting, and I do like when people can remember their dreams and tell me something about them, because I don't. Yeah, so I do think it's like the universe saying like, hey, if you're making the conscious effort to pull yourself out of the shit, I'll show you a little magic. And it's just literally the mindset we need to get into to make our next movie. So I just got to go with the flow, and I can easily fall into like judgment and self-pity and all that shit.
That was what felt really tragic about you having such a hard time last week because it feels like everything stops.
Yeah.
Like our momentum, everything is like, oh shit.
Yeah, I'm very sensitive. And very, I guess, impactful too. Like, I feel like I'm not being impactful when I'm like that. I'm like, I'm not bothering anybody. I'm just like not saying or doing anything. Like, I'm just staring at a wall because I'm depressed.
I literally can't do anything when you can't do anything.
Yeah.
It kind of just puts me in that mode, and maybe that's just because we're very like interconnected. But I feel like my life's on hold.
Yeah.
Because like my life is so revolved around you
Hmm.
and what we're doing together and all that stuff that
Yeah.
it's like, what, I'm gonna keep producing a movie that Sean doesn't even want to think about, you know? Like,
I just needed a second to not be a person, I
it's
guess.
okay.
Like I was saying, I didn't even put two and two together when I was saying that before, but I guess that's all it was. It's just like I needed to invite like some like not even the calm before the storm of making the movie, like the nothingness. Like I just needed to just like sit in the void, you know,
It's just kind of crazy.
before I start creating a new universe.
It's kind of crazy because your dad's been depressed too.
I think it's contagious.
R- Okay,
I
yeah.
I, I think
I was wondering if you would think
when
that
it
it was
comes to close
contagious.
family members, like seeing my dad the shape he was in and like see him lose like 10 or 15 pounds in a week and not be able to get out of bed or take a shower or do anything, and he's normally the complete opposite. Like we're all like we're cheering him on and trying to make him feel better and being more sensitive to him and everything, and just I don't know, I just somehow hit my wits end and I just got pulled into it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and outside factors like some stuff that stressed me out, but nothing that's worth holding on to. Nothing is worth holding on to, especially the stuff that's bringing you down into the dumps. And it's such a fucking hard thing. As a person that just went through it, it's such a hard thing to pull yourself out of. But really, really helps if you can somehow move your body, because that then starts to bring all the other stuff. Because when I'm like that, I'm not. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to eat. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to talk. You know.
Yeah. It sucks.
You've never felt like that?
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I don't. It's a blessing if you haven't felt like that. But
Yeah, just it usually doesn't hasn't lasted that long, luckily.
yeah, yeah. For me, it usually doesn't last that long either. But like, if it's something involving like an outside factor or another person or whatever, it can, because I'll get in the headspace of like, I need to hear an apology, or I need to know that that's not going to happen again. Like, I just have this like crazy self protection mechanism that's just like, it's basically me trying to control something. And yeah, it's just like the worst tug of war you can imagine. And it's like it's not even very intellectual. It's not like, oh, I'm flooded with all these thoughts and I'm having arguments in my head, and like that happens to a certain degree, but it's just mainly just like a void of anything, of the motivation to do what I know I have to do every day to keep my mental health in order.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go a couple days without your good habits, and then bad habits start replacing them, and you're like medicating. And yeah, it's a fucked up cycle. I think a lot of people can relate with it. Maybe not necessarily you all the time, but that's good. Like you definitely have one of the most positive, happy dispositions naturally of anyone I know.
I have other afflictions than depression and like I've, anxiety, fear, that sort of stuff. I mean, it kind of different ways of relating manifest in different people, I think.
Hmm.
Um yeah, no, I think certain times a year can be tough for people. I think
That's the other thing I take for granted. I forget.
well, that's what immediately what I thought of when you and your dad are both having a hard time. I'm like, there's really no cool, like, I don't know.
Yeah, this is today is the 17th anniversary of my little sister Erin Patricia passing away. And I don't really treat that the way that my rest of my family does, like in terms of like still focusing on it as like a tragedy or like the loss or like how it affected us or anything like that. I'm just like, Erin's a spirit now. Like she did her work here, and um, now she's been gone longer than she was here. And I think the best way to honor her is by not being sad and down in the dumps about it. But it can easily get to you, because it's one of those things that it just, like, when you think about it for a second, it makes life so scary.
I also think it's not intellectual. I don't think you and your dad necessarily are like, that's the thing that you're thinking about. I think there is like the body keeps the score. Like the most tragic loss that you've ever experienced was at this time of year.
It on this day at this time, exact same weather.
Yeah, so there's something like the scents, the smells, the light, the way the trees are, you're not it's not even an intellectual. It's just like your body went through extreme grief at a certain time, and consciously or unconsciously that can be triggered, I think, is what I would
Yeah, yeah.
guess or presume, having known other people like my mom who lost my little brother as a like, he was born
Alex,
prematurely, and this time of year is really hard for her too.
same time of year.
Like between January and March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like got to be very gentle with yourself if there's something in your life like that,
Yeah.
and give yourself a lot of spaciousness and
Just be mindful.
mindfulness, right?
Yeah.
Because it's important to remember those feelings pass, because they can probably feel like, oh, I'm always gonna feel like this.
Yeah.
Like your dad got really depressed around Christmas, and he's had a lot of traumatic stuff happen around Christmas. So it's like
Mhm.
we could be mad at him because it's inconvenient for us that he's depressed at Christmas, but we can also realize, like, okay, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, being mad at somebody for being depressed is that's pure insanity. That's throwing fucking fuel on the flames. It's tough because it can be very frustrating. I grew up with my dad depressed and self-medicating and abusing drugs his whole adult life. So, um, I've definitely been the person that's like, what the fuck, and like mad and like just needing my dad to be my dad, and
I'll
it's
be
so
honest,
selfish.
I wasn't even that patient with you last week. Like I can say this stuff, but this
Yeah,
week
no,
I was like,
nobody was.
I was like,
Nobody
because
was.
you're telling bad stories, and this is where it gets frustrating, is when someone's telling bad stories and they can't see a bigger picture, and they're so attached to their story of why everything sucks. It's like it kind of feels worthless talking to someone who's in that place. You're like, God damn it, like I can't even get through to you. Your story sucks until you can recognize that for yourself. Like I can't help you.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
I know I'm sorry. Like I definitely like I was down to just not say anything. That would have been a good time for like just a silent meditation. But since we weren't doing like a conscious silent meditation and just one of us is being quiet and the other one is trying to keep our business afloat and the vibe going and the whole thing, like yeah, I could see why it would be very frustrating.
I didn't even try to keep the vibe going. I'm like, oh, well, the vibe sucks. All right.
It's
Here,
okay.
here we are in a sucky vibe. It's
It's
okay.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. It's like it's just like a fucked up in breath that.
It also gives you like so much appreciation. Like when we did all bond again,
Mhm.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is really nice.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same as like being sick. Like when you're not sick, you don't think about being sick or how grateful you are that you're not sick.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're sick, it's the only thing that matters. That's it. Like all the other shit goes down the tubes. It's just like I physically can't fucking do anything. Like that's your main focus. So, yeah, of course, like when you're not depressed, you're not thinking about like, oh, could I be headed towards a meltdown soon? Could I be headed towards a huge lull in my life? Like you're not thinking about it, but then when you're in it, you're like, well, you're just buried.
Well, isn't there something like about what you were going through or what depression is, that almost not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, like you can't even consciously process that this is like a temporary state of being? Or were you in it thinking
I know
like,
it's temporary.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Having gone through it. Just having gone through it for way longer too. Like I've been in that state before for months, and it's
For months.
yeah, you've been with me.
Oh yeah, that was sucked.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
I've a
just like
couple times.
it's just like I don't know what to do. Like and I can't stop saying that when I am and like I'm like I don't know what to do.
Well, the problem when you are in a sucky place is you kind of are looking for a fight.
I'm I'm not looking for anything. I'm looking for literally like I wish you would just be at your mom's for that week so you didn't have to see me. And I think my dad's the same way. I think it exacerbates it when like somebody who's not like that is looking at you like
Yeah, I try to give your
what?
dad a lot of space when he's not feeling good. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
trying to be
'Cause
open as
I
shit.
think a part of it is like he's humiliated, like that he's not presentable,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the same as him in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but then when you do interface with someone who's not like in a good place, you can quickly turn from like you being mad at someone else to being mad at me.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I don't even want to
yeah.
touch you with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Well, that's the downside of being so close to me. Is you are everything and everyone. And it's cool because we hold that space for each other. I'm like you do allow me to do it. I'm like I'm just gonna process this through you as if you are the person I think is upsetting me.
Mm-hmm.
And it does help me get to a better place, I guess, a little bit. Or it helps me hear how stupid I am. But if you weren't in my life, I would just go through this alone. I would bury the feelings and just move on and do what I had to do, like what the vast majority of at least Americans are doing. Just grin and bear it. And it's tough. It's a really tough thing to do. And I can see why people turn to like a pharmacological intervention in those situations, because you cannot imagine how bad it can feel and how desperate it can feel, and that if there's a convenient solution, you would of course love it. For me, the convenient solution is get off your ass and go fucking run or walk or get in the sauna, do a cold
Or
shower.
have the person who wronged you finally apologize, even if you have to beg them to apologize.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but it still doesn't do it. You know what I mean? It's one of the factors, but you really ultimately have to forgive yourself and love yourself, because it's all an inside job. It's just like whatever the outside factor was, the person or the thing or whatever. It's not the thing. It's just it was the trigger. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I was probably just like unknowingly walking a tightrope, and it just got shook, and I got spooked, and I was very defensive.
Yeah, because you can allow people to change how you see yourself and give your power away and stuff like that very quickly, right?
Yeah, for me, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just I more than anything just care about being a good boyfriend, a good partner. All the other stuff, like I could take or leave, and like I love making films or everything, but like if I'm not being perceived as a good partner, I can't do anything else. If that makes sense. Like
Because
you
it's,
say, you like things tidy. I
yeah,
can't. I wouldn't try to do a creative thing unless the whole our space was tidy and vacuumed and cleaned and the laundry's done. Like I'm very much like that. It's the same thing with psychological stuff. If it's not tidy, you know.
you can't just like move on. And I think a lot of people live in a relationship like this where they have a mess in between them, and it's gotten just keep sweeping stuff under the rug to the point where there's you're in a mountain.
Or a dead bedroom. Like I could feel how that happens. I never really understood how that happens, and I could feel it the other day. I'm like, oh, if both people were participating in the vibe I had, there'd be no way to get this back on track sexually. There'd be no way. Like literally, one of us has to be holding space in the good times, because when we both fall into that, I could see how horrible relationships that you won't get out of take place. You know.
Yes, definitely. It's hard to have sexy times when you're depressed too.
Yeah, yeah.
Close to impossible.
Well, but that's why I say like for me it just all starts with moving my body, because once I move my body, then I'm gonna get hungry, and once I eat, then I'm gonna want some fucking dopamine, and I'm gonna want sex, and and it can start you on the road to recovery, little things, and it's the last thing anyone struggling with depression or even like what I was going through wants to hear. Like, go move your body, you got to sweat. And it's what I was telling my dad. And then I was going through it. And then I went like 3 days without moving my body, like the first 3 days of this whole year.
It is kind of perfect how that happens. You have like your dad be depressed, and you're like, come on, it's easy. Just get out and move your body. And then you almost like karmically fall into what you had to be compassionate for him
Yeah.
about, so
Well,
you
and
can.
I fall into it, and then I realize like, whoa, what I really need is to like have a conversation with the person that's upsetting me, and I'm like, I don't. Maybe my dad's going through that, and maybe he doesn't have people in his life like you and like Mare who will have the conversation and say, I'm sorry. I want to do better. I love you. I respect you. You know. He might not have that available to him. A lot of people that are struggling might not have that available to them. I know I didn't when I first tailspun into this type of shit was when we went through a breakup years ago, like 5 years ago. Not you and I, but with someone else. And yeah, I just felt like I needed confirmation with them that I wasn't the worst person in the world, and they wouldn't offer it. And I was just in a shame chamber, just fucking getting waterboarded with shame.
Wages of sin.
We keep paying wages of sin. Little Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, What was I just saying before you started singing?
That you were in a shame chamber
Yeah.
because you want to be told that you're a good boyfriend.
Or a
Mm.
good ex-boyfriend or whatever. I don't even need to be told I just need to know it's not like there's not like you're going through your life thinking about me all the time and cursing my name. Like I just don't think about me. Like you don't have to go through like cursing my name, but then it's just like what am I trying to take away from them? Their sovereignty over their fucking
Also, I think,
feelings.
yeah, and sometimes,
It's like you hate me. I get it.
sometimes it helps someone to hate you to move on, and you gotta
In the
like,
past, it always had. There was this one situation though that I was just like, nah, this ain't right. I put way too much into this to have this person fucking hate me. This is embarrassing for all parties.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it bothered me. It bothered me really on an intellectual level, and I had to smoke toad, correct course. It helped a lot. I smoked toad 3 times, and it did the trick.
That's a pretty big prescription.
Yeah, not even one I would necessarily recommend, but if there's big energy to move in your life, you gotta fucking do wild shit maybe that you wouldn't normally do to try to dislodge that fucking stagnant bullshit.
It all gets balanced out in a way that kind of almost makes me nervous, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it does get balanced out because ultimately I came out of that situation just a much more humble person, believe it or not. And I needed a great humbling in my life, and
Yeah.
I needed I needed to be at the bottom of a mountain again, whether I liked that or not. And now I know I love it. I'm like, okay, cool. I can do this. I I I can handle myself. I don't need external validation to know I'm a good person. And I don't know. I do from you.
Well, except last week or whatever, you know, and it's like when someone says that, you just need you're seeking for something that you should be able to find in yourself. It's like, it's so hard because when
I
you,
have it for myself, and then I'm frustrated that that person doesn't have it for me. That's
yeah,
what it is, you know.
Mm,
Like I have all the context in my head. Like I know who I am and what I'm doing and what I'm up to. When it's being misinterpreted, I lose my mind because I feel like I'm a very clear communicator. I feel like I'm very clear. I use my words clearly, and I just express what I need, and a lot of times to a fault.
yeah, it's like when someone perceives you in a way that is not like in line with where you're at, like that can be very uncomfortable
Yeah.
because you feel like you're not being heard or seen or misinterpreted for who you are and stuff, and then getting to find how do you find like alignment within yourself when you feel like you probably had to do stuff to correct course in those relationships, and you need the opportunity to say like, you need, as much as you need to hear I'm sorry, you need to say I'm sorry. It's like we all
Always,
need
yeah.
to give what we think we want, so if
Hmm.
you want a sorry from someone, you better be the one offering it first.
Yeah. I'm pretty
um
good about that stuff.
yeah, no, I'm not saying you're not.
I've since the great humbling, I've become a lot better about that.
The sorries are on the tip of the tongue.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, because it's also like, I look at my family patterns, and I'm like, my mom's unapologetic, and it's kind of badass in a lot of ways, but she is unapologetic, and it doesn't work for me. Just doesn't work for me. It never has. I've been that kind of person, and I've kind of dug my heels into that side of my personality, and it just doesn't feel right. It definitely doesn't go hand in hand with like being a stoner, carrying around a bunch of like righteous like I'm right, I know what's up. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not, it does not go hand in hand with taking the kind of drugs we take. And Toad showed me that. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to put that kind of karma out there anymore. I'm going to just try to be more mindful and do better.
Yeah, I mean, life is a great humbling, and as you get greatly humbled by life, you realize you don't know what the fuck's going on, and your story is just one distorted version of events that you can't even remember and
Yeah.
is completely distorted by wherever you're at whatever that time. So to think you are the one holding on to the truth is like a ridiculous concept. So it's just like,
Well, I think what you just said is like the most liberating thing in of this whole process is just realizing that you don't know what's going on. And I think that might seem scary to some people, especially more controlling types like myself. Like, what do you mean I don't know what's going on? No one wants to be told that they don't know what's going on. But when you realize it for yourself and can apply it to society at whole, it's like a, whew, wow, okay. I don't have to take this as seriously. I could just take my lessons as they come to me, try to do my best to not judge and lash out, and be a fucking freak.
Yeah, I feel like there's a balance of like wanting to unpack what led to a fight and then also being like, it doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah, that's tough.
And like you and I got in a fight about something really small the other day, and you were just like, I said this, and then you said this, and this is what I was trying to say, and I was like, I know you want to be understood, but like the details don't matter. Like we just had a fucking flare up at each other. Like
Yeah.
you're right, I'm wrong, whatever, I'm wrong, you're right, who cares? We can like go in the details, but I'm going to just get into a defensive state because when you're reading me the details, I have my own perception of what happened and why I was the way I was
Yeah.
and why I said the things I said. So we can do this dance, but if you expect me not to defend myself and just take your version of reality, like you have something coming for you because
And likewise.
cuz like why would I why would I surrender my reality to your reality? Because you have are stronger and care more. I mean, I guess I could do that, but I'm like,
That would be my answer to that.
yeah.
It's like, oh, I could cling to my reality, but clearly Cass cares more right now. I've hit on something. I should adjust around that, as opposed to her have to adjust around me.
Or maybe neither of us need to adjust and say, hey, we both know that we want to be kind to each other. We love each other. We're not trying to hurt each other. And do we need to really hash through the details more than that?
I need to get better at that. I could, because I do feel like I need to. A lot of the times I'm just like, just because that's the self-protection moving forward. Like, hey, I understand we just hit on something that threw me into my worst pattern. Can we just clear up what happened here so that if it happens again, like, we can navigate it more clearly?
And I'm not saying that's bad. I think that is good space because the more I understand you, the more I can be sensitive to some of your triggers and vice versa and whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's some times where it's like, this is so stupid because I have the worst memory. So like you tell me I said something or did something, I'm like, it didn't sound like that to me. I don't remember,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. We'll just keep doing better and processing the stuff.
Keep on keeping on.
That's all. That's all you can do. Just keep on keeping on. Do your best.
Keeping on.
Don't cling. Cool. You want to switch over to the Patreon?
Sure thing, babe.
We'll keep talking. Get a little more personal.
If possible.
Yeah, we've been watching like some cool movies and stuff. So the Patreon is just gonna be a chill sesh. We really deeply appreciate people joining up, and it's patreon.com/Church of Chill. There's tons of music shows on there. I think there's like 75 bonus podcasts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We've done a lot of extra content on there.
We keep doing this thing.
Yeah, and it's $2 a month. Or you could pay more. That would really be nice. We should have started it at $5 a month, but whatever.
We love it. We love you, and we're very grateful. And anything is awesome. It really inspires us to keep this going. We love being part of a bigger community and have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, leave a comment. Be sweet to us.
Like and subscribe. Smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, Cass, now you're getting it.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll see you over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Church of Chill. Peace, love, and magic, y'all.